Hello everybody, welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. So today we are talking about the 8th episode in the second season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So we're almost through the second season, which is great because I feel like they're going to announce pretty soon when the third season is coming out. Of course, the third season is already done, probably early 2025, I think is what they're saying. And they've already said, of course, they're going to do a fourth season as well. That's all the contracts are signed. Although an interesting development has occurred, which is, and I'm going to mess this up. I'm not totally clear on what's happened here, but I believe that all of the Paramount stuff has been sold to another company. And it might just be that Paramount Plus, everything that's on Paramount Plus, will no longer be there because Paramount Plus is stopping. Or it might literally be that Paramount no longer has the rights, but I'm not sure about that kind of stuff. All I know is it's basically under new management. So I'm not sure what that's going to mean in the future for projects that they've talked about but haven't started yet. We'll see. Strange New Worlds is very popular, but if they do a fourth season, which they've already kind of signed everything for, so I think that's going to happen. If they do that, then they'll only have 2 or 3 seasons at most left in them for Strange New Worlds, I assume. So I'm not sure how long that will continue. It is successful. People do enjoy it. But it is interesting to have this new manager, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I do believe Star Trek could do more. I don't mean more product. I just mean it could be more successful. So it does have room to grow. So I'm not sure where this new manager is going to take it. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds for Star Trek. All right, so this specific episode is called Under the Cloak of War, I believe. And that sort of implies that during a war, things can be hidden. And I think that's kind of the whole point of this. And I want to say right off the bat, I love this episode. I've talked in the past about how Star Trek these days seems to be veering away from science fiction and going more towards, I guess you could say, space opera or even just straight up soap opera. It's kind of lost its sci-fi edge and has moved more towards a kind of human heart thing, which is okay. There are many great shows that aren't sci-fi shows, right? But personally, I want Star Trek to be more sci-fi, you know what I mean? But I've talked about that in length. But for this specific episode, I feel like this is the kind of episode that could be done instead of sci-fi. I really love this episode. I feel like on The Next Generation, they would do like 5 sci-fi episodes, and then they do an episode like this. This is like the trial episode from season 2, I believe, of Strange New Worlds. An amazing episode that's very Star Trek, but not very sci-fi. I feel like this falls in that same category. I don't want to say that this has plenty of sci-fi, because I don't quite believe that, but it's fine in this episode. This episode is incredible. I love this episode. So this episode is about a Klingon emissary coming to the Enterprise. And of course, there was just a huge Klingon war, and many of the people on the Enterprise are vets from that war. So it's very difficult for them to deal with a Klingon hanging around. And the thing that I really love about this episode, because I feel like in traditional Star Trek, I think people would have learned to accept the Klingon, which is a great message, an important message, and it's good that Star Trek says things like that. But what I really love about this episode is it talks about the fact that it would be very difficult for a vet put in that position to accept that person. It looks at the other side, which I really appreciate. And it's done very unapologetically, really kind of harsh and straightforward. And it's a bit black and white. It's a very simple plot. Mbenga, an amazing character on the show, recognizes the Klingon as the worst butcher of all the Klingons in the war. The most evil Klingon of them all. So it's very basic, but it really makes a beautiful point. To sum it up, in the end of the episode, Mbenga ends up killing the Klingon because he can't stand the way the Klingon keeps talking like he's there to help everybody heal from their past and all this kind of crap when he's the reason that people have changed. Mbenga throughout the episode talks about how his goal in war was to come home the same. He felt that his family deserved to have the same person come home as the same person who left. That was his goal, and he realized during the war, of course, that was impossible. He could not come home the same. So in the end, having this Klingon talk to him about how he could fix him, all this kind of nonsense, it just drives Mbenga to the point where he can't stand it anymore and he kills the Klingon. Mbenga is not punished for this act, at least not that we see. They talk about how there'll probably be some kind of a trial, but everybody knows that Mbenga is not going to receive any punishment because the way they've set up the plot, they feel like the knife belongs to the Klingon. The knife belongs to the butcher, and the Klingon has been claiming to be the butcher this whole time. He claims that he killed his own men because of the atrocities they committed in this war. He realized that this was bad, and he killed his own men, and he ran to Starfleet. When in reality, Mbenga is the one who killed those men. Mbenga is the butcher, and he still has the knife. And they get in a fight, Mbenga kills him with the knife. But when they're investigating and they look at the knife, they say, oh, this has the DNA of all these old Klingons on it. This is the butcher's knife. Therefore, the Klingon brought the knife to the fight, not Mbenga. So Mbenga's fine. He's not in any trouble. Although he really kind of did just murder this guy, you know what I mean? But that's really the beauty of it, is the idea that, and they talk about this in the end of the episode, the captain is talking about everybody deserves a second chance and everybody needs a person to help them change. And Mbenga is talking about, what about victims? What about justice? And it ends in this amazing speech where Mbenga says to the captain, you have the privilege of being a civilian. You have the privilege of not living my life, a soldier's life. Therefore, you can't see the true horrors of humanity, what humans can actually do to each other. Captain Pike hasn't experienced that, but Mbenga has. And it's a really amazing, unapologetic speech. And Christopher Pike has talked about, we've been friends for years. You could tell me of something. And Mbenga is just like, I'm glad he's dead. That's it. And I really believe that is so powerful and so well done because we get both sides. That's the real beauty of it. We get to see how Starfleet thinks, which is that everybody deserves a second chance, which I love. That's a wonderful, beautiful thing to have on television. But we also get to see a little more reality, which is the atrocities that humans can create and the fact that some people do deserve to be punished. So I think it's a very important, great episode. And just one really great part in the middle that I want to throw in. Nurse Chapel was also there for all of this. She's kind of going through the same thing that Mbenga was, although she doesn't recognize him specifically. But while she's there, the Black Ops team gets an order that they need to go out and just get in front of the Klingons. They just need to block them for as long as possible so that they can evacuate this moon that they're on. So it's a suicide mission, straight up. They're just going out there to die. But Mbenga shows up while Nurse Chapel's sitting there, and she's like, I overheard everything they said. And she says, for Black Ops people, these people sure talk loud, which I just thought was hysterical. It's really well put. Really a great moment. Yeah, so if you haven't been watching this series, I would recommend checking out this specific episode. I really think it's incredible. regardless of what you think of Strange New Worlds. I think this episode is really a great one and worth watching. If you have been watching it, I do hope that you enjoyed this one as much as I did. I just really loved it. I think it's the kind of episode that Star Trek can be less science fiction on. Just really, really well done. All right, well, that's just kind of an extra video for the week. Chris, of course, is out for the next few days, I believe. So the next thing that I'm going to do is Time Bandits. And I'll probably put that video out on Tuesday. That's probably what we're looking at right now for our schedule. So thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, please hit the like button. If you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe and have a great day.